All right, let's begin. Today we're going to be covering Arum Triphyllum, also known as the Indian turnip, from the Arusaceae family. Now, whether you're gearing up for your exams or just want to get sharper in your clinical practice, this is one of those remedies you absolutely have to know inside and out. It's got such a unique and, well, unforgettable symptom picture. So let's dive right in and see why.
So let's just jump straight to the heart of it, to the central paradox of this remedy. I want you to picture this: a child, maybe with scarlatina, and they've got these raw bleeding sores on their nose, on their lips. You know, every single touch has got to be agonizing. And yet, they can't stop picking at it. They keep boring into it, just making it worse and worse. So the big question is, why? If you can understand this seemingly irrational act, you've basically found the key to unlocking Arum Triphyllum.
And that question, that why, it leads us right into the core theme of Arum Triphyllum. What we're dealing with here is a really powerful combination of two things. First, this intense, burning acridity, and second, an almost uncontrollable destructive impulse. You see, this is the fundamental pathology we have to get our heads around. It's this very unique mix of severe physical irritation and this bizarre compulsive behavior.
Okay, let's take a look at the source text right from Alan's Keynotes. Here's what he writes. Coryza, acrid, fluent, nostrils raw. Nose feels stopped up in spite of the watery discharge. Compare AMC, Sumbul, Synap, sneezing at night. Acrid, ichorous discharge, excoriating inside of nose, ali, and upper lip. Okay, let's unpack that. If you're taking notes, there are two words you have got to circle, maybe even put a star next to: acrid and excoriating. Acrid means it's sharp, it's burning. And excoriating, that means it literally strips the skin away. We're not just talking about a simple runny nose here, folks. This is a destructive process.
And right here, we hit on a really crucial contradiction. And let me tell you, this is a classic exam question, so pay attention. Notice the difference here. The patient's sensation, what they feel, is that their nose is completely blocked up. But the objective sign, what you can actually see, is a constant watery discharge. This disconnect, this gap between what the patient feels and what the practitioner observes, that's a real hallmark of this remedy.
So Alan then goes on to detail that destructive impulse I mentioned. He says, constant picking at the nose until it bleeds, boring with the finger into the side of the nose, picks lips until they bleed, corners of the mouth sore, cracked, bleeding, with malignant tendency, kendid, bites nails until fingers bleed. So you see the pattern here, right? This compulsion isn't just isolated to the nose. It's this widespread, self-destructive behavior that spreads to the lips and even to biting their nails until the fingers are bleeding. It's intense.
Okay, now listen closely, because this next part, this is the absolute keynote of the remedy. This is the big one. The text says, patients pick and bore into the raw bleeding surfaces, though very painful. Scream with pain, but keep up the boring in diphtheria, scarlatina, typhoid. Wow. Scream with pain, but keep up the boring. This is, without a doubt, the single most confirmatory symptom of Arum Triphyllum. If you ever see this specific behavior, especially in severe acute diseases like scarlatina or diphtheria, this remedy has to be at the very top of your list.
So what are we talking about here? This behavior, this is exactly what we define as a guiding symptom. What does that mean? Well, it's a symptom that is just so strange, so characteristic, so peculiar, that it acts like a giant flashing neon sign pointing you directly to the right remedy. And for Arum Carnum, this compulsive picking despite the agonizing pain, that's its quintessential guiding symptom. If you remember nothing else, remember this.
Now, this acridity isn't just in the nose, it goes deeper, affecting the digestive tract as well. The text notes, children refuse food and drink on account of soreness of mouth and throat, are sleepless, saliva profuse, acrid, corrodes the mucous membrane, tongue and buccal cavity raw and bleeding. So let's translate that into a real clinical picture you might see. You've got a sick kid. They're probably dehydrated, they're thirsty, but they refuse to drink. They refuse food. Why? Because the pain is just too intense. The saliva itself is described as profuse and acrid, so much so that it's literally corroding the inside of their mouth, leaving it raw and bleeding.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. Let's see how this whole theme of irritation plays out in another key area for this remedy: the voice and the throat. This is actually where Arum Triphyllum gets its famous nickname, the orator's remedy.
So Alan's Keynotes describes this condition that's famously known as clergyman's sore throat. He writes, aphonia, complete after exposure to northwest winds, acon, hep, from singing, argnur, cost, phos, cell,
Clergyman's sore throat, voice hoarse, uncertain, uncontrollable, changing continually, worse from talking, speaking, or singing, orators, singers, actors. The words to underline here, the key descriptors for the voice, are uncertain, uncontrollable, changing continually. And make sure you also note the specific triggers, overuse from public speaking or singing, and exposure to those cold northwest winds.
So, what does an uncontrollable voice actually sound like in the clinic? Well, you can see how it progresses here. It starts with just hoarseness, but then it becomes uncertain, and then totally uncontrollable. The classic picture is a public speaker or a singer whose voice just gives out. It suddenly cracks, or it jumps up to a high-pitched squeak right in the middle of a sentence. It's just fundamentally unreliable.
Okay, so we've established this picture of intense acridity and this really strange destructive impulse. Now let's see how all these symptoms come together, how they form a coherent picture in really severe septic conditions. This is the critical application of Arum Triphyllum in what the old masters called malignant fevers.
Right. The text states, desquamation in large flakes, a second or third time, in scarlatina, typhoid scarlatina, with apathy, scanty or suppressed urine, threatened uremia. The sore mouth and nose are guiding in malignant scarlatina and diphtheria. So in a case of scarlatina, you're looking for the skin peeling off in these big flakes. In typhoid states, you're seeing profound apathy and, this is a huge red flag, scanty or suppressed urine, which points towards kidney failure or uremia. But what's the most important part? Allen emphasizes that across all these dangerous conditions, the sore mouth and nose are guiding. Those initial symptoms we talked about, they remain your key indicators.
So this table here just puts it all together for you. Really good for your exam revision. For scarlatina, you've got the desquamation plus the classic mouth and nose symptoms. For diphtheria, it's that unforgettable guiding symptom, screaming with pain while boring into the sores. And for typhoid, you're looking for that profound apathy and the signs of impending uremia. Knowing these distinct pictures is absolutely crucial for your exams and for your practice. Okay, last but definitely not least, let's talk about the remedy's relationships and, very importantly, its potency. I need you to pay really close attention here because this section contains some absolutely critical instructions for prescribing this remedy safely and effectively. All right, here's the text on relations. Relations. Useful after heper and nitric ac in dry, hoarse, croupy cough, after cost and hep in morning hoarseness and deafness, and in scarlatina. Should not be given low or repeated often as bad effects often follow. Dr. L, the higher potencies most prompt and effective. So first, he notes it works well after remedies like hepersulf and nitric acid, but the part you cannot miss is the caution on potency. It explicitly states, should not be given low or repeated often as bad effects often follow, and then it gives the recommendation, the higher potencies most prompt and effective. This is a direct instruction from the masters.
So, just to make sure this is perfectly clear, let's bullet point these practical takeaways. Avoid low potencies. Do not repeat the remedy frequently. The text is unambiguous. Higher potencies are the most prompt and effective. This isn't just a suggestion, it is a vital instruction for safe and effective clinical practice. You gotta remember this.
Okay, you've listened, you've taken notes. Now let's see what's stuck. Time to put your knowledge to the test. I've got a few multiple choice questions for you, based directly on the keynotes we've just gone over.
Question number 1. A child with scarlatina constantly picks their bleeding lips, despite crying in pain. The nasal discharge is acrid and watery, yet the child feels like their nose is completely blocked. Which remedy is indicated? Your options are A. Arsenicum album, B. Cepa, C. Arum Triphyllum, or D. Mercurius solubilis.
All right, question 2. The voice of an Arum Triphyllum patient is best described as what? A. Consistently low and gravelly, B. Weak and whispering, C. High-pitched and shrill, or D. Uncertain, uncontrollable, and changing continually.
And for our final question, number 3, according to Allen's Keynotes, which of the following is a key caution when you're prescribing Arum Triphyllum? A. It should only be used in tincture form. B. It should not be given in low potency or repeated often. C. It is ineffective in children. Or D. It must be given after sulfur. Okay, pencils down. Let's see how you did. The correct answers are 1 is C, 2 is D, and 3 is B.
And as you can probably see, every single one of those answers comes directly from the source text we've been reviewing today. You had the guiding symptom for question 1, that unique voice for question 2, and the critical prescribing caution for question 3.
All right, so to wrap this all up, let's do a super quick review of the absolute keynotes. What do you need to remember? Number 1, acrid discharges that excoriate the parts. Number 2, that constant, compulsive picking and boring at raw, bleeding surfaces despite the pain. Number 3, the voice is uncontrollable and it changes pitch. And number 4, its huge application in malignant fevers like scarlatina and diphtheria. And to help you lock it all in for your exams, just remember the mnemonic: ARUM. A for acridity, R for rawness with picking, U for uncontrollable voice, and M for malignant states.
And I'll leave you with a final thought, a question to really take your study to the next level. We all know that picking symptom is the big flashy keynotes, but take that away for a second. How would you clinically differentiate the acrid coryza of Arum Triphyllum from, say, the acrid coryza of Allium Cepa? I want you to really think about the other discharges and where that excoriation occurs. If you can answer that, you'll truly deepen your comparative knowledge of the Materia Medica. Okay, that's all for today.